Increasingly today, we see more and more electrical cars everywhere. So if you're Increasingly today, we are seeing more and more electric vehicles. So if you're looking for a small little practical city French runabout, this may be the car for you. This is the Peugeot E-2008, and today we're going to find out if this is worth the buy. Today's episode is brought to you by Sgcarmart Smart Loan. Sgcarmart Smart Loan is designed to save you time and money through a digitalized loan application via MyInfo for your used car purchase at below market interest rates. For a limited time only, get $500 cashback and a 6 months Kinto membership worth $1,200 when you apply for a loan today. To find out how much you'll save when buying a used personal or private hire car, click on the link in the description below. Now, back to the review. The Peugeot E-2008 is priced at $163,000. The single electric motor produces 134 brake horsepower and 270 Newton meters of torque. The single-speed transmission brings the car from 0 to 100 km per hour in 9.1 seconds. The 54 kWh battery has a drive range of 436 km. For more details on the Peugeot E-2008 or any other car, head on to sgcarmart.com to help you make the smart choice on your next car. Now, starting off by the front, this is a facelift of the E-2008, which originally landed in somewhere in 2022. You watch Julian talked about that if you click here. Now, what's new on this one? You get a new grille with body color paintwork here, so it's a very nice touch. The standing lion previously now becomes a lion shield logo for the updated Peugeot CI. You get new lights here and new daytime running lights as well. Previously they called it the Fang, the single ones. Now it's a 3-claw, which is more in line with kind of the other cars. And this car is pretty sick, isn't it? Now let's check out the side. Now in this trim you get 18-inch wheels on the side. What's new in the facelift? This E is new. They've interestingly gone from a small case E to a uppercase E. But it's kind of fitting also because the battery size on this car has gone from 50 kWh from the pre-facelift to 54 kWh on this model. And the power has also been upsized. It's a little bit more power now. It's the same motors, but they've slightly less detuned it. You'll still spot it's very kind of angular things like kind of dents here that give it just a little bit more character. Now onto the side, onto the rear. Come on, over by the rear you get new lights right here, horizontal slats. Wow, this looks good to me. Like not the single line that everyone else is doing, but 3 thin slats, and below that you get a little bit of a clear plastic. I think this looks really good. To me, the E-2008 has kind of grown up in this facelift and I am loving it. And down here, Peugeot, but a very subtle, almost blended in. It's body colored on the black, looks really, really good. Now you open up the sick tailgate. It's a manual tailgate too. 434 liters worth of boot space. Will it pass the anti-trolley length test? Probably not by a long shot. Nope. But it'll still take up your anti-trolley and luggage, as you can see. No problem. Wow. I guess if you buy this car, you also get this Peugeot umbrella. I think I'm gonna keep it and not tell them when I return the car. You get a variable boot floor. This is kind of a second level, and then your tonneau cover is there, and then underneath that is your tire repair kit, so no spare tire. Now let's check out the inside. So over in the rear of the E-2008, I'm 1.75 meters tall. This is my head space, this is my leg space. You get, of course, headrests and mixed leather and fabric seats. This is the GT trim, so you're gonna get this adamite green stitch detail because it is GT trim. But I think it looks nice. It gives it a little bit more pop inside the cabin. The rest of it is a black, but this electric green color really makes it look good. 60/40, what they call magic flat folding seats, so flat, I guess. And if you shift on into the middle, there is a transmission tunnel in the middle, so you could squeeze like that into the seats of your neighbors. But otherwise, I think, you know, over short trips, this could squeeze 5 reasonably well. In terms of amenities, you're gonna get USB-A and USB-C fast charging, so it's neat that they give you options, but no rear aircon, but you get a big sunroof that does stretch to here. So pretty good. Let's check out the front. So over in the cockpit of the Peugeot E-2008, things are very familiar, very Peugeot, you know. You get your 10-inch infotainment screen with wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You get your 3D iCockpit, so it's kind of layered, and when you look from different angles, it just looks really cool. And then you get your small steering wheel. Other than that, the cabin is And there's a lot of detail and thought put into it, like this little carbon fiber trim, because GT, and then adamite green stitch, and then there's a nice grey stitch here. I like the design, but I do wish that down here by the aircon controls, some of it is touch, like this, these are touch, and then some of it are lever switches, which are nice, like a hazard button switch. But I do wish that they gave the option for the fan speed to be one of the levers, because that's like one of the things that you adjust pretty frequently, but instead you have to touch it and then you have to adjust it on the screen. Other than that, you have your volume knob here, which is a nice little rocker switch. A little hideaway compartment here that you can lock and unlock. That also stores the wireless charging, which pairs together nicely with the wireless Android Auto. Then you get USB-C and USB-A fast charging, which I'm using to charge up my phone. And then a little cubby space here, you can throw your sunglasses with a 12-volt charger. This is the gear shift, the new fly-by-wire gear shift that they used previously. A little bit more carbon fiber trim, and then 2 cup holders. Another gripe of this cabin is because when I drive with the Peugeot iCockpit, I tend to have the steering wheel lower so that you can see your instruments. But then I would have my water bottle here. It's nice that it can fit in the cup holder, so it's 2 variable sizes as well as variable depths. One is deeper than the other. But if I do have this here, then it kind of makes driving a little bit restricted. So for me, it will have to go on the door bin. But it's a very personal thing, you might not have to deal with that. And then your armrest, tiny little cubby space, but it reaches deep down. Like for context, like you can just hide the entire cup inside there. I don't know why it needs to be so deep, but why not? It's good. Another curious thing is that the glove box is really tiny. It's just like this size. Other than that, things very familiar. It's a nicely designed. I like the interior space quite a lot. And then of course, even this frameless mirror, it's a nice touch for this segment. Another thing that I like about this cockpit is the ambient lighting system. So it's not really in your face. This tiny little strip is very well done, and it kind of matches. So it goes to like this adamite green when you're in sports mode, and then if you go down to normal, it will shift to a nice little very Peugeot blue. There we go. And then it's so subtle. It's not like really like large flash, but when you're driving, like entering the car park, it's nice. It's just a nice little reminder, and it makes things feel a lot nicer. But does this car drive as well as it looks? One way to find out. So driving a facelift E-2008, what does it feel like? Well, it essentially feels like a petrol car. Like it feels like a 2008, non-E-2008. If you are a fan of regular cars that aren't like EVs, don't feel like EVs, then you will love the E-2008. It essentially feels like I'm driving just the 2008, but with an electric drivetrain. In the sense that everything else in the car still feels like the petrol variant. It doesn't feel like new age, different. There are certain hints, of course. You get your driving information. There's a screen that lets you see how the power is distributed and the little lightning bolt symbol. But other than that, still feels very familiar, very French. Of course, you have the 3D iCockpit inside the 2008 and the E-2008. So that gives it a really kind of nothing else out there is like that. It's kind of really cool to see the information display in that manner. And then of course the 3 components of the iCockpit system, which is eye level driving instruments, and then a driver oriented infotainment screen. It's pointed towards you, so it feels good. Your information is directed at you. It's not just in the middle flat. It's pointed for you. It's driver oriented. And then lastly is the third, the small steering wheel, which granted takes a little bit of getting used to. Some people feel that with this small steering wheel they can't see that information, but that's because they're driving it like a non-iCockpit car, like your regular car, where if you have it at this high and then you're driving like this, then you can't see your instruments. But it's a very simple fix to just lower your steering wheel and then you get full access to your instruments. So A little bit of a stretch, guys, don't complain about that. Other than that, for a 2008, it's quiet, it's fine, and well, it's an EV, so you do get that in sport mode, power just comes on tap, which is absolutely fun. And for a tiny little car like this, where it's rather comparatively light, it just makes things a lot more devilish, may I say. You just get to play so much more with this fun little car. It is still under Cat A, so you're gonna see those kinds of, your pricing and your savings is gonna be in those kinds of level. But of course, the update from this versus the pre-facelift is that this now has a slightly larger battery, which gives you a longer range. During the launch, they told us that this car could drive up to KL on a single tank, so to speak. And another thing is that the power has been slightly detuned from the previous generation. So you do get a little bit more power, but it's the same drivetrain, just that they kind of detuned a little bit more. Which this one, I'm a little bit curious. I don't know why all Cat A EVs don't just kind of tune down, or rather tune up to just the limit. But other than that, it's a little bit more peppy. It's a little bit more fun. In terms of safety, you're gonna get, this is a curious one though. You're gonna get blind spot monitor, blind spot alert. You're gonna get lane keeping. They tell you, there's an alert lets you know when you're drifting into the lane, and they have front collision avoidance. Like if you tailgate the car in front, they'll tell you, oh, obstacle close. And they'll also tell you that if it really comes to that, they'll jam the brakes for you. But they don't have active cruise control, which is a weird one. So you have all the components, you have the front detection, you have the cruise control. So in theory, if you put it together, it should make active cruise control, but they don't have it. And I suspect it's because the architecture for that is a little bit old. I'm not a fan of this kind, especially when this one, compared to the instrument cluster, this I really cannot see. Because no matter how you shift the steering wheel, you're not going to be able to look at that stop, and so you kind of have to set it before you drive off. And I don't know, it's just, there's a lot of space here, so I'd rather use buttons to set my cruise control settings. So another thing about the drive is when you initially start the car, you will usually be in either eco or comfort mode, and you would even feel like, oh, it's maybe not an EV, because the way the power is modulated through the drive, you kind of have to really put the pedal to the metal to kind of feel that high torque. So it's really meant to make you drive like more economically. It's more relaxed. But if you want that full EV torquiness, just shift it into sport, and they'll change like your color of your infotainment screen. Things go to green, and then you know you're in sport mode, and that's when the instant torque really comes in for your city driving, your quick 0 to 60, 0 to 100. And that's just so enjoyable. So sometimes when you're stuck up against a black van or the back of a bus, where you can see the reflection of the car, and then the 3-claw DRLs, it's just a neat little kind of party trick. And then you just, yeah man, this car looks good. And also flat slatted lights, really nice. So it's the Peugeot E-2008. Will buy, won't buy, or go try. If you ask me, I think this car is a go try. I really want to like this car, but it's facing some really tough competition. The pricing just doesn't suit the car, because it's coming in some 170, 180,000. It's facing some really, really stiff competition from, common theme now, the Chinese EVs. The Chinese EVs are undercutting everybody. I like that this car feels like a petrol car, yet it's a Cat A zippy EV. And many other people I know want an EV that, or rather don't like that some EVs are just way too out here as an EV, kind of like a, let's say a Tesla. It doesn't feel like a regular car. So this does that really well. I mean, it's essentially just an electrified version of the 2008. So you still retain all of its regular carness, but the pricing just is a really hard price to beat. I mean, if you're looking at straight up EVs, kind of different segment, Ion Y Plus, you have your Dolphin, even so a Peugeot, a French car, is pretty known for its chicness, its style. So you're still going up against the Aura Good Cat. And even if you're not going up against the Aura Good Cat, there are still just plenty of other EVs to compete with this in this kind of price segment. And that unfortunately just makes it a bit tough of pills to swallow, but it does have its charms. Like, I really like how this instrument cluster you just won't find in any other car. And then, of course, complete system, small steering wheel. It's really a love it or hate it thing. Like, to me, French cars have a certain appeal, and this one strikes it right down the middle. So you get that Frenchness, you get that carness, and still it's just an EV form with a zippy little drivetrain that's a little bit updated, a little bit faster, a little bit better range. So I want to like this car, but I just don't like the price. So that's it. That's our review of the Peugeot E-2008 facelift. What do you think? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know down in the comments below. Any other car that you'd like to see us try out, do leave it in the comments and I'll read every single one of these. Or any other feature you're curious about, you can comment that as well and I'll try to find it out for you. If you made it this far, don't forget to like, share and subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of the future videos. And lastly, do follow us on TikTok. We are at Sgcarmart. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Bonjour. What's au revoir? Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Boom.